So you were saying straw
Yeah,
phonation.
so straw phonation is just one of a group of vocal exercises that is classed as SOVT, semi-occluded vocal tract. And that just means partially closed voice channel. So humming, lip trills, straw phonation, these all work on the principle of a semi-occluded vocal tract because they have the effect of narrowing and in some cases lengthening the channel that you use to produce
It's
sound.
like when you have a water hose and you pinch it towards the end, you create a more intense jet. It's a smaller jet, but it's more intense.
Maybe. What I was going to point out is that it's beneficial for your voice. Any of these SOVT exercises are beneficial for your voice because they increase the amount of acoustic energy that's being reflected back to your vocal folds. So most of us just think when we make a sound, everything's coming out. But in reality, a certain amount of acoustic energy is actually being reflected back into your vocal tract. And if you increase that bounce back, it helps your voice vibrate more easily, almost like you were someone giving a person a gentle push on a swing. So SOVT exercises help your vocal folds vibrate more easily because they increase that amount of vocal energy being reflected back to your vocal folds. These exercises also help to align your vocal folds more effectively and to balance the pressure above and below your vocal folds. So those two things together, that better alignment and that more balanced pressure above and below your vocal folds, help your vocal folds to vibrate more efficiently. So what we're going to do is a very research-based approach to easier vocal fold vibration and more efficient vocal fold vibration. It's particularly useful for people who are experiencing voices that get tired quickly. But really, it's good for anyone. Okay?
Okay.
So the first thing we're going to do is take your straw and you're going to make just a gentle, unforced sound through the straw. Just do that. I lost the sound. Can you do it again? I can't hear the sound. Something's cutting out.
Oh, because so.
Okay. Now I'm getting a wind tunnel effect. All right.
It sounds. I'll spare you the torture. It sounds like a bison going into labor.
Okay. Now, when you make this sound, you want to make sure that no air is escaping around your lips, and also no air is coming out through your nose. So if it helps just to pinch the nose. All right. I think just because of the headset, do you have a built-in mic we could fall back on? Or could you put the headset?
I'm not on a laptop. I could, but the last time I put the headset directly in front of the straw, you said you got to. Okay. Tell you what, I've got an idea.
Because you were blowing right onto the microphone, right? Just hold it away a bit. I just don't hear anything.
I think
No sound.
no sound.
We're actually going, whoo.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't know how to work around this. It's
I
something.
can. What if I did it using my phone? Can I connect using my phone?
Oh, I guess you could.
Okay.
Yeah, but then, yeah, but stay logged in on your computer so
Yeah,
your
yeah.
recording doesn't end.
I can mute my headset here. Give me a second, but let me first connect via my phone. What is my phone, anyways? 1 second. Okay, can you hear me here?
I can.
Let me.
All right. Now, two things you want to watch out for when you're doing straw phonation. One is that you don't want to tense your lips around the straw. So keep the lips as relaxed as possible without air leaking through. Rather than Okay, so give that a shot. Keep the lips relaxed. All right. You okay?
That takes the wind out of me, quite literally.
Yeah, it takes a lot more breath than I think you're used to using.
Yes.
This is why I'm doing it. Okay, so the other thing to watch out for is that when you produce this, put the straw in your mouth, you don't yank your tongue away from the end of the straw and pull the tongue back. You want to avoid that. So, that's the idea. So the tongue stays very relaxed.
Why does my voice vibrate towards the end?
By vibrate, do you mean get a sort of raspy quality to it?
Yes.
Yeah, because we're pulling back on the breath support. So,
okay.
So what I'm hoping this will do for you is get you used to producing a sound with a generous outflow of breath. So if
It's
you hear
interesting
this,
that you mentioned that the moment, sorry, having these headphones on is making me very cognizant of how I sound. Yeah, the moment you mentioned drawing on your breath reserves, reflexively, I took in a breath from my abdomen.
Okay, that's got to be good. So,
I hope so.
Yeah. All right. So let's do this again. Now remember the sliding board that we talked about in your previous lessons. So instead of starting low, start a bit higher. Like you're hang gliding. Okay, very good. It's a definite step forward. Now, these sounds do not have to last long. So don't try to push air out. Don't try to make the sound last longer. It's almost like a sigh of relief. That's about all I had breath for. Okay, it uses up a lot of air, and that's a good thing.
But honestly, Mr. J, when you do it, it sounds very pronounced and powerful. I feel like I have to push through a lot of air, or at least maintain longevity to make up for the lack of magnitude, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't care about the size of the sound at all. The size of the sound or the length of the sound, do not care. So I want them to be fairly short and very gentle. That's right. And see, the moment you sense it getting scratchy, it's time to stop. Actually, you should have stopped a bit before that got scratchy. Okay?
It was scratchy at the start.
Well, yeah, but you had plenty of breath and you found it. So just what my point is, don't make this last so long that you have no choice but to get scratchy. End the sound before the scratching starts. There you go. Now I realize it's unsteady at the beginning, but I think that's just sort of
acclimatization,
a time and practice issue. Okay, so okay, got scratchy at the end again, and start a little higher. The mic cut out on me. Okay.
I cut out immediately. Sorry.
So we're not looking for long sounds. We're not looking for big sounds. When you do this, you're asking yourself, how easy does the sound feel? How consistent is the sound? And can I actually feel the straw vibrating with sound? Those three things. So that's what you're looking for. I would recommend set a timer and just do that for maybe 3 minutes. Now it's going to be a long, boring thing to do, but if you can do that, just 3 minutes of that, just these easy sounds, looking for smoothness, consistency. So eventually we want to minimize that wobbliness at the beginning. But I would just give that time. I don't think that's something you need to consciously control. And we want to avoid getting scratchy at the end, because that tells us you're trying to make sound after your breath has run out. No, you're too low in your voice. You're too low.
How do I control whether it's high or low?
Do you sing?
Not at all.
Okay. I think this isn't really something you have to control. You just have to aim a little higher in terms of pitch when you start, because we all have a pitch that feels natural to us, but in your case, it's too low for your voice. And so we've got to get you used to starting sounds higher than what you're used to. Just aim a little higher.
All of that sound very alien to me.
Okay, then just let it ride, and maybe in the next part of this exercise, you'll get a better feel for it. So sounds have frequency, right? Mm-hmm. I can talk on a high pitch, or a high frequency, or I can talk on a low pitch, a low frequency. And everyone has at least, I'm going to say, 2 octaves of frequency to play with in their speaking voice. So men tend to overuse and press their voice down into the lower frequencies. And I want to encourage you to explore with more the middle of your voice. So 3 minutes of that, just. Okay, now that was the extreme. I don't want you up that high. Aim somewhere in between. No, that was down in the bottom. There you go. That's precisely what I mean.
Mm.
3 minutes of that, okay?
Okay.
Now the next part of this exercise is what I call the bell curve. You're gonna start low, sort of up the hill and down the hill. There we go. Let's hear that again, please. Start low where you wanted to before.
Sorry, I ran out of breath.
Yep. Let's hear it again. That's too extreme. Remember, I want you to stay within what's comfortable for your voice. So don't go so high your voice breaks. That's not going to be useful for speaking. Can you slide up?
No.
Again, you're going up past your break. Ooh. Just go. Ooh. All right, let's leave that one be for now. I don't want to just beat our heads against the brick wall here. I want you just to stick with what we were doing earlier. That's too high. Don't be in falsetto.
I don't know what falsetto means.
Voice here. Your girl's voice. And again. Okay, yeah, don't go so long that it gets scratchy. So you're starting way up here. It's not where I want you to be. In the middle. Can you sense where the middle is? Like, this is high, this is low. Just be somewhere in between. Okay, I'm going to let you do that for a week and see where we end up with it. Right? It's really good for your voice, and I think this is the way that we're going to get you used to the feeling of engaging your breath fully when you speak. Because for the last 10 or 20 years, you've been using almost no breath to support your voice. And so if I can get you feeling that fully engaged tone that you use with no raspiness, then this will be a home run as far as I'm concerned. All right?
Okay.
All right. So that's strophonation.
Can I switch my iPhone off?
No, leave it on for now. So can we just use it as a microphone so you don't have to stare at it? You can use your other...
Okay.
All right, so just, yeah, put it off to the side. Because on this next exercise, a lot of times I find The voice recognition software is always kind of weird. Now, I'd like you to just blow out a lot of air and flutter your lips like this. Do that again, please.
Give me a second. Hey.
And one more time, please, just like that. Okay. Now, I'm sure you can feel, Ibrahim, that it's probably impossible to do that if you're holding back at the same time. Can you feel that? Like, you've got to get behind it, right? You've got to blow some air out there and hope your lips flap in the breeze. Okay, let's try. There we go. Good. All right. You can feel that takes a lot of breath. You know, you couldn't do that for 10 seconds, right? That uses up breath fairly quickly. This is the way I want you speaking, not with the 50% that maybe you've gotten used to over the years, or the 30% that some stressful situation might prompt from you. I want you to know what 100% generosity feels like. And a lip flutter is a very physical way to feel that generous, but everything out there feeling. So do it again and just notice how much breath you're giving away when you do that.
Excuse me.
That's right. That's right. This uses up a lot, right? Hang on, let me just.
My problem wasn't the breath the breath specifically. My problem was more how to keep my lips engaged so that they would continue to flutter.
Mm. Okay, well, that's something to consider. But again, they won't flutter for long. You can't control how people respond to what you say. You have no control over that. All you control is what you choose to put out there in the room.
Okay.
So let's not fail to make an impact or fail to engage our listeners because we didn't put anything out there.
Okay.
Now, of course, any intelligent person would say, I would never do that. Obviously, that's counterproductive. But the reality is, in the very act of speaking, in the very act of trying to connect with someone, most people are finding 6 different ways to hold it back at the same time. They might not know they're doing it, but it's happening. So lip flutters, right? Generosity, that feeling of just putting everything out there with no reservation. Now, the second thing that I think lip flutters will do for you, and they will do many things for you. Remember, lip flutters are another form of SOVT. Lip flutters will help you feel that speaking is a breath-powered process. That's not a muscle-powered process, it's a breath-powered process. Now, I think everybody knows that, but they know it in their head, and they don't know it in terms of what they feel when they talk. Because everyone else is just all preoccupied with the words they're saying. So that breath might make my lips flutter. That same out-breath could produce a sound, hey. That same out-breath could produce a sentence, hi, how are you this afternoon? That's an outflow of breath that's making that happen. So let's flutter the lips again, let's say 3 times. And instead of focusing specifically on the flutter, I want you to focus on that feeling of breath pouring out of you when you do that. Okay, put your fingers right at the corners of your mouth, just like this. You don't need to pull your lips back. Just let your fingers gently rest there. You're trying to pull your fingers. There you go. And again, please. Good. Move some air forward. Again. Don't try so hard. Okay. Notice that if you just focus on moving air forward, the lip flutter kind of takes care of itself. I mean, you have a little bit of lip relaxation to figure out there, but that's pretty minor. Everybody knows that breathing is important to speaking, but most people have it in two separate compartments. They breathe and they talk. They have no sense of the connection between the two. That speaking is really just another way to exhale. Speaking is just an outflow of breath. I want you to feel, not just know, that if breath isn't pouring out of you when you speak, then you're not communicating very well. Okay? So lip flutters, two things. Generosity, it's not going to last very long. And wind power, not muscle power. All right. Now let's see if we can add some sound to this. And by the way, you can do that too. Do that for 3-5 minutes. Just walking around, fluttering your lips. It's going to be really good for. It's going to be good for your voice. Yeah, don't do it around other people, but in private. I'll never forget. Years ago, many years ago, I was, my office was on Yonge Street in the Rosedale neighborhood. And I was on my way to work one morning. I could walk to work. And I just forget about sort of how strange some of these exercises are, right? I just do them so often. And so I'm about, I don't know, a dozen feet behind these two young women that are walking the same direction I'm walking. And I just flutter, give my lips a good old flutter. And these two girls just like whirl around and stare at me with these wide eyes. And then they continued walking. But the minute they got to the next shop window, they pretended to stop and be very engrossed in what was going on in the shop window until I walked past them, and then they proceeded. So don't do it in public.
Trust me, Dr. J, I don't need these exercises. I already have that effect on people. These exercises would just be a magnifying effect. That's
right. Well, I used to say to my clients, don't do this unless you want a TTC car all to yourself. Can we add some sound to this now? Let's see what happens. Like you're trying to be a big truck.
Sorry. Okay. So what's the distinction between the regular flutter and this one? Is it just the duration, or are we changing up the tempo?
No, it's very, very important distinction. The first lip flutter is voiceless. My vocal folds aren't doing anything. That's just breath and lips. On the second one, it's a voiced lip flutter. My vocal folds are vibrating with sound as I do this. So the first one, the second one, the first one, the second one. Very nice. Can you do that for me 2 more times, please?
You know, I just realized something. In times of Corona, I'm already a spittle factory. I could be declared a biohazard with this exercise.
Don't try to make it last too long. Okay? It's going to last this long. That's it. So what is that? 3 seconds maybe? Two more times for me, please. Now, can you do the same thing, but just try to push a bit less? Let's see if we can still manage a lip flutter without working so hard. Sorry, I was talking, and so the mic cut you out.
Sorry. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. Can you do this? Like a siren. Well, at least I'm entertaining today.
You know, it's even funnier than just these sounds. It's not really funny. It's disappointing to hear these almost infantile noises and then trying to make them and failing at making them. That was a siren call.
That was a really high siren. Okay. Again, 3 to 5 minutes doing that. So first start off with just breath and no voice. And then add vibration to it. And eventually, this is the voice I want you speaking with. This is your voice. It's strong, it's smooth, it's rich and full. There's a lot to like about that voice. And so I realize a lip flutter is a long way from conversation, but I want you to start making friends with that voice because that's where we want you to be eventually. Any questions about that?
No.
Okay, if you want the next step, what you're going to do is add a single vowel sound at the end, like this. So without stopping, you're just going to slide into an A sound without changing anything. You want to give it a try? All right. That's the mechanics of it. Now the question to ask yourself is, does my voice on the A sound feel exactly like my voice on the lip flutter?
No.
Or that's right? Right now you shifted into a different voice to make that A sound. Your goal, as you practice, of course, is to continue that feeling from beginning to end so that the only thing that's changing is what your lips are doing. Flutter, 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 open. Everything else is exactly the same. Okay?
Okay.
Do you spend a lot of time in the car, or do you use TTC, or it's probably not TTC out where you live? But
TTC. Hey, you know what? I'm offended. Where do you think I live, doctor?
Brampton.
Wow. Why?
No.
Is it because I have an Arab name?
No. What I remembered.
No, you're
Now I'm
thinking
going
of
to have to
someone
go
else.
back and
I'm up
look.
in North York. North York, Finch and Weston.
Okay. Oh, I've got Richmond Hill here.
Oh, that's on my credit card. I apologize.
Ah, that's why I was fooled. Okay. All right. Anyway, what I was saying was that if you drive a lot, yeah, this is something you can do in the car, right? Nobody around. It's not too distracting. If you don't, then this is something you can do around the house. You know, getting dressed before you go to work, making coffee, right? You can just do this. I guess even if you're alone in the men's room, right? I mean, at any moment you have some privacy, you can do this practice. And I want you to do it a lot because I think it's going to make a big, big difference for you. My biggest challenge coming into this training was how we could invite you to produce a sound that's more fully engaged and connected to your breath and less tense in your throat. And when you're doing lip flutters with the voice, that's the sound I want.
I'm still not aware of the link between the flutter and injecting more breath into my regular manner of speech, because both of them involve different larynxal and oral contortions.
I agree with the oral part. I don't agree with the larynx part. So both of these, the straw phonation and the lip flutter. I like the lip flutter better than I like straw phonation because for what you're saying, most people when they're making sound are using hardly any breath to do that. And so we get all kinds of throat tension and all kinds of weird sound qualities and noise in the voice. But on this particular exercise, if you hold back on your breath, your lips don't flutter. So it's just an indication of whether you're putting out enough breath in the process of producing a sound.
Okay.
That's why I love this exercise. I've never found a good substitute for it. In my 25 years of coaching voice, whenever I run into someone who just really, really, really struggles to flutter their lips, I'm just like going, oh, you just made my life harder for me. It's really valuable. And again, it's SOVT, so it has all the benefits that I was talking about with the straw, that bounce back to your vocal folds that makes them vibrate easier, that better alignment of your vocal folds. And I think because your lips are fluttering, we have a certain amount of extra pressure, which helps to keep your channel open, because we're not just, letting the breath flow out unrestricted. That slight restriction caused by fluttering the lips, I think it helps to keep your vocal tract more open. Have I answered your question? I realize I talked for a bit there.
That's fine. I'm usually the one who talks on and rambles to the point where people get lost. It's not that. I don't mind you talking at all, Mr. J. Quite the contrary. I wish you'd speak more often. But sometimes I believe I struggle to see the link between point A and point B. So, for example, right now, what you just described is when a person is mechanically unable to flutter, they are unable to conduct the exercise by which they fail to get in touch with the breath that they are pushing out. However, I feel that I spend so much time not so much focused on how much breath I'm pushing out, but rather how pruned or prepped my lips are so that they can flutter that my breath is the last of my concerns. I feel like I can push out as much breath as I need, but pursing
Yeah,
my lips just the right way is what I struggle with.
that's okay. That's just a matter of practice. This will improve, I promise you, within a week. Lip flutters respond to practice really well, and I will admit that initially some people will have to figure out that balance of tension and relaxation in the lips that's required to do a lip flutter, but I'm not worried about that. And there is a difference between pushing out breath, as you say, and using breath, because for a lot of people, if they think of it as pushing out breath, then they start working too hard to make the sound. So, and they also think about loudness rather than openness.
Correct.
So, okay. All right, sir. What felt good today?
Laughing.
Okay. What's the challenging thing?
Not laugh.
Oh, come
on. 1 second. Sorry.
Not hear you.
Hello.
Yep, now I hear you.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I'd forgotten I had muted my mic on this end. I'm sorry about that. I couldn't speak well earlier because I kept hearing myself in real time and it was quite jarring.
Yeah, I know that. It's not a problem.
Easy thing. I don't know. I feel like today's exercises went over well. I didn't feel like I struggled with them. Like they weren't conceptually a challenge as much as
By challenge, I don't necessarily mean exercises that were hard to do. I might be referring to concepts that you can sense will take a bit longer to master.
Again, I don't think I'll struggle to master either the flutter or the straw phonation.
Okay. What about this whole issue of using enough breath to produce sound?
That's different because I don't know how I'm going to transition to that. Because again, as you might have surmised, I'm not going to be fluttering my lips in conversation.
That's right. It's
Actually,
not that big of a jump.
I hope so. I still haven't made the connect, to be honest. I actually think I spent a whole lot more time today modulating and understanding how playing around with my tongue positioning affected my modulation. Which had nothing to do with what you were trying to aim for, by the way. So I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. You get out of the lesson what you get out of the lesson. If there's something small you could reinforce even around other people, what would that be?
In what sense?
Out of the things that the concepts we talked about today, is there anything small, not too distracting, that you might be able to keep in mind or reinforce even when you're around other people?
Yes. I'd definitely be more mindful about parceling out my breath reservoir, so to speak.
Excellent. I was
Does that
hoping
make
you'd
sense?
say something like that.
Oh, come on. You know you can always get a good line or two out of me.
Sorry, I didn't understand that.
Come on, you always know you can get a good line or two out of me.
Oh, okay. Good line too. Is your next one already on the calendar?
Yes, I believe we are scheduled for the
27th.
27th. Yes, that is.
Okay. I will see you then.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm pretty happy with what you did today.
As a
3
post,
weeks ago, I wasn't sure we'd be able to get here, and here we are. So I'm very happy.
but what are you noticing a distinction in? Because I haven't felt anything change.
Today, I heard you make some sounds that were not scratchy and not stuck in your throat. And I'm very pleased that we were able to get here.
But I think that has
Because
more
at
to
your
do-
consultation, I doubted that I could accomplish that, or that we could accomplish that, I should say.
But again, not to be pessimistic and to try and be more objective about this, wouldn't that say more about the nature of the exercise? Like, for example, maybe by funneling down my breath reservoirs down a narrow channel, maybe they weren't a scratch, or maybe because right pretty early on in the lesson, it was made clear that okay, stop before scratchiness occurs, and all we did was we actively limited the cases rather than actually you know what I mean, like when you actively omit cases that would be deemed unacceptable, you're artificially manipulating the sample pool, if that makes sense.
I think so. If I
Like,
understand what you're saying, I think that practice is all about that, setting up the conditions where you almost have to do the right thing. And then the journey is, how do you go from there into situations where there are a lot more variables? So
quick question. When you refer to the orientation session, was that the session where I was in the restaurant and we talked over the phone, or was that the session where we did it over video and I was at home?
yeah, our first 1 hour session where we were trying to determine whether voice training was appropriate for you. That's what I was referring to.
I have to be honest here. Something I really struggle with is clarity when I'm in a public setting, because as you can see, in order for me to achieve clarity, usually what I have to do is I have to speak loudly. And I can be quite loud. And especially when I have earbuds in or headphones on, I can be obnoxiously so. Like I've had many a family and ex tell me that I'm too loud for my own good. So what I've been very conscious about, especially since coming here, is toning down how loud I am. And the problem is, as you know, the lower I go, you notice the raspiness increases exponentially. So that has been the only counter that I find. And I think I touched on this in our first consultation. My in my subconscious solution for raspiness was volume. But with volume, I also run a higher risk of, like you said, sounding high pitched, or did you refer to it as being falsetto? Entering falsetto territory.
Okay. I
Uh,
don't see how that relates to this part of the conversation.
oh, sorry, I apologize. I meant to chain together like how one attempt at a solution cascades into another undesirable effect. For example, I would attempt, sorry, if I want to be clear, I have to be loud. If I'm loud, I attract unwanted attention, and if I'm too loud, I start sounding feminine, which is another undesired outcome. So but that particular side effect aside, when I'm in a public setting and I'm being loud, that attracts attention. So when I'm in public, I do the opposite, which is tone it down. And when I tone it down, I sound excessively raspy, which obviously affected your impression? Like I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be wistful or upsetting here. I'm just trying to be objective. All I'm like
Yeah.
right now, for example, if you're using the metric, sorry, if you're using our first interaction as a metric, I think that might not be too useful because that's not how I always sound. That's how I sound when I'm trying to have a conversation around other people with someone I know. Because in that context, I can't be loud because then I'm disrupting everyone else's conversation.
Mm. Yeah.
So
I
what I
think
end, go ahead, go ahead, sorry.
this is what happens when we have a problem, let's say a speaking problem, and we simply try to make the right thing happen.
Mhm.
We often end up using approaches and techniques that ultimately have other side effects and aren't helpful. So you're setting it up as either my voice is clear and too loud, or my voice is raspy and appropriate. And
Mhm.
I maintain you've got other options than just
Thank you.
those two.
Thank you. Look, okay, excellent, excellent. No, no, sorry, I wasn't trying to set it up as a lose-lose situation, but rather because you said, hey, you've made progress. I actually want to believe that it's been genuine progress. But if it's progress compared to, say, a session where I kept my voice low, you know what I mean? You understand what I'm trying to say, right? Like, have I actually made
Well,
progress?
I'm not sure I do. The point
Okay,
is that we're past the consultation,
sorry.
so I wouldn't be looking back at that.
I'm very sorry.
All right. I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Lots of straw phonation, lots of lip flutters, and I need to figure out what we're going to focus on in your next session. That will keep me busy this week.
Okay. Do you mind when you send out the reminder this time, putting those particular 3 exercises in it?
Uh,
The flutter,
okay.
throb,
Okay.
and the varying flutter. Sorry, the flutter with the changing, the tone modulation. You said that there were 3 kinds of flutter. The flutter,
2
sorry,
flutters.
so 2 flutters, and then there was the one with the vowel transition.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. That might be a long practice reminder, but I'll do what I can.
Okay, just the 2 then.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
I'll see you at your next one.